look and say, this is my job in the church. It may not be great, but it certainly isn't small. I ought not think high of it, but I ought not despise it, because God has made us all part of this larger group called his church, his body. And as that, our different gifts are to be used in love. Not a shadow of love, not an idea of love, not the type of thing to where, I'll pray for you, brother, but the type of thing that's real, the type of love that is honest and sincere. And if you recall, even last week, we dealt with the type of love that is going to look at someone who in many ways may be foreign to you, different than you, not like you, and that person who, though that might be awkward, and like, they're just so far removed from me. They think about stuff differently. They live differently. They have more money or less money than me. They live in a different part of town, and you look at them like a brother. That is the type of life. Because this church, as we meet here as a church, this is in many ways ground zero for growth. But I want us to understand this. Ground zero in a church for growth is not Sunday mornings. Okay? Yeah, we all have a part to play. You all have a role in this body and the larger Christianity as a whole, but that is not a part to be played on Sunday mornings, right? Now, you probably do. I look around and we've got people who can do things better than I can do things, okay? Some of you nursery, some of you piano stuff, some of you music things. I actually brought up a measure. Do you all remember that a few weeks back? Yeah. Don't do that when your wife knows music, because apparently I messed up, but we're going to bypass that. Yes. So it's called a bar line. Just correcting myself. Are you happy now? Okay, there we go. We all have a part to play. And our part to play, though it may be evident, or we may have a specific part to play on a Sunday morning, maybe on a Wednesday night in a formal setting, but our gifts, our talents, and our purpose is not something where it happens in an event or in a public arena. It may happen that way at times, but God has gifted you for the purpose of being involved in the body, and the body is people. The body is not this church. This church will burn. There's no question. This church will eventually vanish if this church is just a building. But you and me, those of us who are in Christ, are a new creature. So new that we will be able to live with him in eternity as brothers and sisters in Christ. And though these chairs that are comfortable and the AC unit and all these different things and the new roof we're going to get, all that's going to burn, but the person you're sitting next to will not, but will be with you in eternity. This church, your involvement with those around you, it's ground zero for growth. And if you come to this church and you say, I don't know my place, I don't know how I'm supposed to relate, I'm not sure, go back. Living sacrifice. Now, if you say, I get that, I have a part to play, I get that, I have a role, I have involvement, I need to do something, I need to be a part, okay, we're moving just a step further. Because as I said, it's easy to say you're a sacrifice, right? Like, okay, how many of you have ever been to a youth rally, to church camp, you know, the emotional highs and lows of being a teenager, and somebody preaches a message, and you go to the altar, you're like, yeah, I'm going to give it all to God, right? That happens. And then, 3 weeks from then, on a Friday morning, when your alarm clock goes off, right? Yeah, totally different. Okay? So, we have this church. Yes, we have this opportunity, and we have this audience that we can cooperate with, but it goes even further. We are God's, a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable, knowing God's will. Good. We are a part of his church. He's gifted you. He has a place for you. He has an opportunity for you to love. Got it. But there's not just God, and there's not just you, and there's not just this church, because there are things other than this church, right? In fact, if you have a job, which I'm guessing most of us do, unless you're retired, you work with people who are kind of not like you. Okay. So, yes, 3 people work with non-Christians. Yes, the rest of you have, okay, right? Isn't this true? We're going to go to work. I am going to go to work. I can tell you where I'm going Monday morning. I can tell you who I'm working with. And there's some colorful folk that I will be interacting with. And I'm hearing laughing because every one of you know it. Not just about me, but about you, whether it be schooling, right? Whether it be not just schooling, but work, whether it be neighbors, right? All these things are real. We interact in this world. Yes, we are not of this world, but we are in this world. This world, this world that God has, it's just a foretaste of the kingdom to come, and it's just choices that we make that are going to lead us to be closer or farther from it. But in this world, yes, we have this church, but we're around a lot of people who are unsavory sometimes, different, awkward, some who are just normal, decent, ordinary folks. And what Paul is going to do is he's going to talk to us, how do you and I deal with people who are not like us, right? In fact, the last verse, the last phrase was given to hospitality. You recall that? And as I mentioned, the word hospitality comes from a Greek word, which if I recall, was philoxenia, xenia like xenophobe, that which is different. Phileo, brotherly love, treating those who are foreign to you as a brother. So, let's move on. If I actually marked my spot. Verse 14. What's that first word? Bless them which persecute you. And in case you missed it, you were to bless them and curse not. Y'all see that? Bless them that persecute you. Bless them. Curse not. Okay. What does that mean? We all know what blessing means, right? It means, it's kind of a broad term, has a lot of different ways it can be used, but just think of it in the most generic sense. If you have an opportunity to bless someone, could that be, I don't know, telling them good job? Could that be praying for them? Could that be giving them like, hey, I'm going to buy your meal? Yes, right? Bless them. Do what you can to impart good upon them. Okay, what does it mean to curse them? Okay, we can get specific words and tie it to it. We get that. But could we also say, that boy's just an idiot? Well, that's clean talk, right? What does curse mean? You get it, right? Well, you ever know those people who can insult you and you don't even know it because they use all sorts of... Yeah, like, wow, I never thought about doing it that way. I hope that works out well. Bless them, curse not. Well, what does that mean? Paul is saying this, okay, we are not just a part of a church, but we're part of a world. And you know what? As we go through everyday life, as we say, God, I am a sacrifice, my life is to be lived for you, not a moment, not a snapshot, but an everyday, step by step, I am going to live for you. There are people who are going to look at you and say, you know what? I'm going to be a thorn in your flesh. Isn't this a blast? And you all know what it's like. And he says this, bless them, curse not. Next verse is this. Rejoice with them that do rejoice. Weep with them that weep. That's simple, right? Someone is rejoicing. What ought you to do? Something good happens to someone gets a promotion. What are you to do? Congratulations. What happens if the promotion is one that you wanted? What are you to do? Congratulations. Okay. Rejoice with them that rejoice. Weep with them that weep. Okay. You're around someone. That person is dealing with pain. That person is dealing with loss. That person may be dealing with pain or with loss that was a result of their own decisions. What are you supposed to do? I told you. I told you that was going to happen. Mark my word. What's it say? Weep. Okay. Next verse. It says this. Be of the same mind, one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. When we hear the word condescend, sometimes we don't like it, right? You look, man, they're just really condescending. What's that word mean, though? Descend means to lower. Means with, right? So as we go through life, we have an opportunity to get our lives, okay, your life, my life. We can take who we are, our emotions, our actual being, and just bring ourselves to others, to put ourselves in their shoes. We can look at someone who maybe is in the pit of destruction because of their own decisions, and our mind, our wisdom can say, it's because of this. I told you not to do this. We could be wise in our own conceits, right? We can think to ourselves, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I told you not to do that. Look what happened. Or we can look at that and say, they are low, and I will lower myself that I may be with them. Right? Next verse. It says this, recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men, if it is possible. As much as lieth within you, live, what's that word? Peaceably. How many of you work with someone, go to school, whatever? How many of you interact with someone in your everyday life that just has the ability to bring out the best in you? Is that work? Okay, yeah, right? You know what I mean? You maybe work with a person and maybe not just like there's some people I work with. I can name some names of people I work with. Like, I hate working with that person, but they're a good person. They're just hard. But what if you work with someone that's not just like that, but someone that is actually like adamantly against you? Someone that's like a roadblock. Someone that says, hey, why don't we do this? And you're like, no, that's a stupid idea. Why don't you go back to church or something? You're an idiot. Like, okay, sorry. Well, hey, I'm here to... No. Do you all ever work with someone like that? Right? We do. And there are times in which we do. And what does it say here? Look at that person and we see the evil they do to us. This is not necessarily anything like they're going to bring them before magistrates and send you to prison. No, we live in a different society than they did. Thank the Lord for it at this moment. But when someone brings evil against you, what does our mind like to do? How do we like to think about it? Let's see. My mind is very creative. Yeah, okay? But what would it be like if that person that performs evil, that thinks evil against you, when the time comes in which they actually did something well and somebody talks about it and you say, you know what? That was actually them. I didn't have a part in it. That was their idea. You get what I'm saying? You work with someone that is just always against you and you bring it before and you say, man, that was a good job. I'm going to tell the boss about that. Right? How's that work? If it's possible, as much as lieth within you, live peaceably with all men. This Saturday, we're going to go to pass out. Thank you. I'm so glad we have announcements. Good. It's there, and it's there, and it'll be here. Okay, there's plenty of... We're going to do that. How many of you have gone out, which all of us should at time? Okay, you go out, and there's that door, and you drop something there, and the person comes out, and they look at you, and they're like, what are you doing, right? And all of a sudden, it turns into like this conflict. You know what? There's a part of me that says, well, wait a second. Okay, this is a free country. You didn't have a no trespassing sign on your thing. I didn't do anything wrong. Go ahead. Call the cops. Challenge. What are they going to do? Arrest me for putting a piece of paper in your doorstep? Ha! I'll win. So much as lieth within you, live peaceably with all men. If you're looking for conflict, you can find it. And sometimes there are people who are looking for conflict, and as much as it is within you, you've got to say no. Now, sometimes you can't. Sometimes there are people who are going to find that conflict, right? But what does it say? Live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Okay? God has given us a promise. He is the righteous judge. He will repay according to his righteousness. Therefore, because of all that, if your enemy is hungry, what should you do? Okay, what if he's thirsty? Give him something to drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. It's actually taken from Proverbs. You can look it up. The idea is this. We're around people sometimes that are contrary to what we are, to who we are. And you know what? God has the ability. Okay, faith, right? We have faith. What does faith mean? Faith means that this world is not our home. Faith means we believe there is a God and he is just and he is good, and ultimately everyone will give an account before God. If we believe that, then yeah, okay, there are times in our life in which we can actually deal with situations ourselves. We can say, okay, I got this. I'm going to take them to court. I am going to do this. My neighbor did that. I'll do this. I actually went to a house one time in which there were two neighbors in Mission Hills that just kept fighting with each other, putting all these things, fences high, no trespassing signs on their fence, but on the other side because it's their property, lawsuits against one another. Can we as Christians do that? Yes. But when we do that, we're looking and saying, God, I don't have enough faith to put my life in your hands. If we're going to take our own lives and we're going to say, I need to take care of these things, I need to repay all these things, I need to deal with all this stuff, we're saying, God, I know you're a righteous judge, but I've got this one. When you do that, you are taking away some of God's judgment, right? I mean, think about this. There will be a time in which every man will give an account. And let's say there's someone you work with, a neighbor, that someday will stand before God, and if they are doing stuff against you and you do nothing but give kindness to them, what's God's judgment going to look like? Pretty severe, right? But what if that neighbor and you are constantly bickering? They come before the throne of God, and I mean, they're just doing what worldly people do, and you are too. But think about this. All of this stuff is written with the reality that everyone that we're around has potential to not just be judged by God, but to be forgiven by him. Okay. I don't know how people have wronged you in particular, okay? I know there are people who have wronged me before, and honestly, it's not that bad. But I know the reality of this world, and that's not true of everyone. The fact is, there are people who have wronged others, and the wrong that they have done to others is far greater than anything I could even ever imagine. Pastor brings up frequently the story of Corrie ten Boom running into a former SS guard. And we in this world are going to have people who wrong us. We in this life are going to be around people who are against us. Sometimes just because they're mean, other times because the very life that we are trying to live as a Christian reflects on them something they don't like. Like when you live righteously and you say, oh, I just don't do that. Oh, my family tries to do this. They look at that and they look at you and they think that you're condescending. They look at you and they think that you're the one who's judging them. And at times, moments like this, we have the ability to retaliate. We have the chance to get back at them. We have a chance to live our life taking what is rightfully God's, bring it to ourselves and say, I will repay myself without God. But God himself may very well take that person who is an enemy and turn them into a brother. Right? You know, when we look at this, all of it, sum it up in the very last verse. What's it say? Be not overcome of but overcome evil with. I'm going to read a quick few verses. This is the words of Christ himself, okay? Sermon on the Mount, you can find it, Matthew. Chapter 5, verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye might be the children of your Father which is in heaven. And listen to this, interesting. He says this, for God, maketh the sun to rise on the evil and on the good. He sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Verse 46, for if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? Jesus is saying this, if you're just going to love the people that love you, if your love, if your sacrifice, if the life that you are giving to God is only going to be displayed as a living sacrifice through those who are like you, through those who are in the body with you, through those who agree with you, if that's as far as you're willing to go, I'm only going to love those that love me. I'm only going to give to those who give to me. I'm only going to sacrifice to those who are like me. He says this, how different are you than any other wicked person? Right? I could take you, I mean, look, you go to the most wicked people in the world, and they have families, right? They have people they love. How do they treat those that love them, that agree with them? Normally, pretty good. But what is it like when you actually say, okay, I want to be not a child of this world, but a child of my Father, and everything that I am, that whether it be someone in here or someone who disagrees with me out there, I am going to look at myself, and whether it be a big, glorious moment in which my boss blows up at me at work, and I have a chance to stand up for myself, I have a chance to point back and pinpoint their errors, I have a chance to say, no, that's not true, it was actually him or whatever. I have a chance to just do that, or I can actually say, Lord, I'm going to stand for truth. I can't control everything, but as much as I can, I am going to live knowing He is the judge. God is the judge. We are children of the judge. And if we only love those and treat rightly those who are like us, we are no different than those who are not like us. We're doing the same thing. So looking at this, understanding the progression, okay, your life, my life, is to be a living sacrifice. This is not some grand moment in which you come to the altar and say, I'm going to the far reaches of Asia. It's not bad. Again, it's not a bad thing. This is not some grand moment in which you get an opportunity to do something and people are like, man, you're such a blessing. No, this is, I want to live. I want to breathe. I want to be a sacrifice, okay? And I'm going to be a sacrifice by knowing my place in God's body and loving God's body. Do you do that? What do you mean? Well, okay, everyone should know their place. You and I should know our place in God's body. Not just that. We have to use our place to love those that are in the body. Step further, we ought to go beyond the body, and the same love that God shows to this world, the same acceptance that God is willing to show, the same forgiveness that God is willing to show, the same sacrifice God is willing to show to those of the world, you ought to yourself look and say, I will do that. So when you go to work tomorrow, when you are at work this week, and somebody says something behind your back, or somebody does something to your face that you know is meant to hurt you, or somebody does something to get the credit for something you have done, how ought you respond? Well, sacrifice. This is hard. The word sacrifice should tell us something about that, right? But when we actually live that way, when you and I actually see the world that way, when we say, I'm going to stand for truth, I'm not going to compromise, but I'm going to love. I'm going to give. I'm going to sacrifice. Keep it in order. Taking care of God, taking care of his church. But beyond that, right? I'm willing to sacrifice for others. Even if they don't care about you, even if they despise you, even if they don't like you, I will sacrifice for others. You are saying this: God's plans, God's will is more important than my own. Because when we take our place as the judge, can we at times get the promotion? I mean, come on, you guys work in the world, right? Can you get the promotion based upon just, right, living that sort? Can you? Yeah. Can you get the raise by taking credit for something that, maybe, can you? Yes. Can someone just constantly fight? Can you sometimes win that battle? Can you often win that battle? But when you win that battle against those of the world, you are losing a war which is eyes for eternity. Yeah, you may get more money, but where's that money going to end up? You may get a better position at work, but what's that going to get you 350 years from now? You may get all these things. You may even be in an argument with someone, and you may be able to stand on the Constitution, and you may be able to say, yes, I am right in this. You may be able to have them dumbfounded, look like the hero of those around you, and say, man, he knows his stuff. You don't, man. You may win the argument, but you're losing the war, which is this: God is training us for a life to come, not the one here. All things are working together for something that is much bigger than time itself. So how ought we to live? A living sacrifice. If we were to go back to that picture, which we don't need to, we can get in our mind the image of a man standing in front of tanks, holding his ground, willing to sacrifice himself. And that is great. But can we do that every moment of every day? When no one is watching, when no one knows, when you're filling out paperwork at work and no one is there to judge you, no one is able, no. Are we willing to actually say, God, I am not just going to be a show, living moment, have an event of a sacrifice, but I am going to live and breathe and exist as your sacrifice. I'm crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, yet not I, but and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And if we had the time, we could go back to the actual life of Christ. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. And look at how he responded. Our mind says, well, that's different. That's Jesus. Oh, that's different. He knew he was going to be going to the cross. He knew his purpose in life. He knew he was going to be a sacrifice, live 33 years, and then move on. He wasn't going to have a family. He wasn't going to have a house. He had a purpose greater than that. And I ask yourself, is that really that different than us? Is your purpose to have a nicer, better, bigger, happier? Because if our purpose is actually found here on earth, everything in Romans 12 is null and void and useless. Why give to your enemy when you can put more in your bank account, right? Why give to your church family when you can work a few extra hours and get that promotion? Why do all these things? But God says, your purpose is no different than that of my son Christ. Let's have a word of prayer. Father, as I think of these things, my mind actually goes back to the Sermon on the Mount and the response of many when they heard your words. They didn't like them. They were difficult. They were hard. Many left. But where else can we go but to you, because you have the words of life? And Lord, if we are to be a living sacrifice, we must accept that you are the eternal God. You see everything, and this world is just a small blip of our life. And so, Lord, I pray for us that we would give ourselves to you, that our life would be holy and acceptable, and that we would involve ourselves in this church, involve ourselves in the body, love one another, and let that love go beyond the walls of this building and show it to a world who only knows their own flesh and their own natural will, that we might live the purpose that Christ did. Lord, ultimately, you're working all things together for good, that we might be more like Christ. Lord, let that be impressed in our mind. Let that be lived in our life, and help it not just to be an event or a show or a one-time situation, but let it be found in the very quietest moments of our thoughts and in our heart, that we are going to, in every way possible, live according to your will and be sacrificed, knowing that you are the judge and that you see all. Thank you so much for all that you do, Father. I pray this all in Christ's name.